We are live with the Next Level Show. This is going to be officially the last episode of 2021. And yeah, dude, isn't that crazy?
Dude, I
Holy
was
shit.
this whole past week, it's like Christmas Eve. I was like, wait, tomorrow's Christmas? How the fuck did that happen? And then literally today, I was talking to my dad, and he was talking about like trying to find a movie to watch tomorrow for New Year's Eve with his friends that are coming over or whatever. And I'm like, tomorrow's New Year's Eve, and he's like, yeah. And I'm like,
Hmm.
when the fuck did that happen?
Yeah. I've been
It's
working a
crazy.
lot these last couple of days for between like the weird period of Christmas and New Year's. Or has it kind of slowed
No,
down for you guys?
it's everybody else seems to be like at least semi-normal. I just got luck of the draw. I have so many people out of town right now that I have like I honestly probably would have been better off to just take the whole week off. I thought about doing that when I was looking at my schedule on Sunday, but I'm like, I'd rather work, 25 hours and get some money for this week. But yeah, it's been really slow for me personally, but I mean, I know that we just signed up like 27 new members yesterday. So like the new year stuff is starting for sure. So yeah.
No, I feel that. I mean, this week has been a little bit slow, and I will be out of town next weekend, or next week actually, from Monday to Sunday.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I'll be in Mexico if all things go well. I mean, everything looks to be smooth over there, even with everything going on with Omicron or whatever. And which,
Omicron.
yeah, which just what are they gonna name it? Like the next one is gonna be the next strain is gonna be the Decepticon. Like it's just gonna be just a list of
That's
different names.
Omicron's a Greek alphabet, bro.
I know, but I wanted to throw in like some of the Transformers in there.
Anytime I hear that, my brain immediately goes to Futurama. There's a planet called Omicron Persei 8, where a certain type of alien is from in
Hmm.
Futurama. That's immediately where my brain went as soon as I saw that strand. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
Omicron Persei 8. Okay.
And basically, what it seems to be like, from as you know, everything coming out, it's just the cold. It's much lighter than
Yeah.
that one that we got in the beginning of 2020. That was just rough. But um,
It's
yeah,
like
dude,
COVID
like
light.
yeah, it's like basically a low calorie COVID.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Same great flavor.
uh, yeah, the same flavor, just less calories, so you're out less time or whatever. Um, but yeah, no, this week's been a little bit weird. People are out of town. It's just that weird limbo. I've worked maybe with like my evening clients. I haven't worked at all in the morning this week. Like I've only done like a couple evening sessions. And I've noticed too that, like you said, like I was thinking about just calling off the whole week and just saying whatever. I'll be off for 2 weeks. And that'd be weird because I've never off that much time. But I've noticed that like I'm not a person that just likes to not do anything. So I know that I'd rather go in and have some type of a routine and it be a little lighter and enjoy that versus being slammed every day where I'm like exhausted mentally every single day. I just go in, enjoy myself, talk with my clients, and do my thing. And during the day, I actually help my brother with, since my dad's out of town, he still has like some stuff that he needs to finish here. So I actually went back and worked with my brother for 2 days out of this week just to make some extra money and just kind of like do something because I know myself personally, I can only sit in my house for too so long before I start like losing it. So and yeah. So I've been keeping busy with little things, and next week I'll be full blown vacation mode. So I'll kick off the new year in a new country that I've never visited before, Tulum, and well, Mexico, Tulum, and well, technically Tulum, Mexico. Yeah, so it's so it's gonna be a good time, just enjoying like the beaches. I'm gonna go try and get some content for you guys in the jungle gym that they have, the where all the influencers go and work out. So I'm gonna go there. They have a beach that's like right there, so I make a beach day out of it, and it's gonna be cool. I always saw it through the internet. I'm like, you know what? I really would love to go and check it out, but um it's weird how my brain thinks. I'm like, oh, there's a gym there. Let's go. Like, I'm the only one out of 15, 16 people. I'm the only one that's like been like, yo, we got to go to this gym. And everyone's like, what? Like, there's a beach. So I'm like, kind of like the bait and switch, like to get them to like
Yeah.
say yes, just to get them to agree with me and we can go and hang out. But I got a lot of good feedback from the last episode I did. You guys were busy with family and stuff for Christmas. It was a weird week for Christmas, but I got a lot of good feedback from people that checked out last week's episode. If you haven't, I did basically the 12 tips for Christmas or the 12 health tips, basically, that I think, well, 12 tips for a healthier life and that you can carry into your new year. And a lot of stuff that I feel are very actionable that you can, ironically enough, this is what we're going to be talking about today. Things that you can uh, work towards and work on yourself that is only going to make your life better, essentially. So if you haven't already, check out that episode. It's the one prior to this one. So any other updates, Mike?
Um, for those that care, we have the first episode of the book of Boba Fett. I know that Gabe would be remiss if I didn't mention that. I watched it. It's amazing. It answers the most important question about Boba Fett after the original trilogy, which, if you know, you know. You get the answer to that one, and then Demon Slayer season 2. Whew, that's going on. That's a big fucking deal, at least in my opinion, because Demon Slayer is awesome. New hotness, and then let's see. Oliver is 11 months old,
I saw.
and that shit is nuts because he was just a tiny little like burrito not too long ago where I could just hold him. I remember doing like an interview with those girls, Mish and can't remember the other girl's name. Sorry if you're listening. It's been a long year. But he was just this tiny little thing, and I could just like hold him.
And
And now if I
Annie,
did that, it's
Annie,
like
Annie, Annie's the other one.
Annie and Mish. Yeah. Now if I try to do that, it's like it'd be like a wrestling match in this tiny little box that I'm currently consuming. But yeah, he's like, dude, he's basically walking now. Like assisted walking is what it would be referred to as, where he can like hold on to something, and we got him like the appropriate toys, so he can literally just. It's like he's pushing a shopping cart around the house, but he does it with literally everything, whether it's supposed to be pushed or not. And that's led to some fat lips, and maybe he like bit his tongue or whatever, and he gets all dramatic about it. But it's pretty cool, and I'm also starting to kind of like realize how it's something that you kind of like, at least we're aware of as far as like functional movements of like a lunge or a squat or a hip hinge or those types of things that we can all do, but we can't all do because we stop doing them at a certain point. And this kid just does like perfect form squats with zero instruction. I mean, obviously he's 11 months old. I can't tell him how to do a squat, but he just does it perfectly. And he lunges in and out of like a seated position, and he does like a good hip hinge sometimes if he's got the right balance and the right thing to hold on to. It's just kind of cool to see that at such a basic level, I guess. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's something I see, I mean, literally every day, all day, every day. And to see it from the most simplest version of a human, it's pretty cool. And it kind of reminds me, like this kind of stuff is really, it is important for us to learn and to practice and to maintain, because if he's able to do it at such a young age, we should be able to be doing this kind of stuff our whole entire lives. And even like sitting in like the Slavic squat position where you're just sitting in a deep squat for however long, most people can't do that. He can. And I don't know, it's cool to see.
Yeah, no, I have a client that I train that they have I think a 4-year-old, I believe, and he kind of joins his mom with his workouts. Like it's the only way she can get into the gym. So I told her just that's fine.
Yeah,
We'll
just
make it
bring him.
work.
Yeah.
And you see him like popping squats and like doing little movements, and yeah, man, like that's why I always say like people that argue with like, oh, you don't need to be worrying about working on these things or these fundamental movements. I always disagree, because I mean we were able to do it for a reason. I mean, And it's not just from a muscle building standpoint, it's just from the ability, just the functionality of and being able,
Yeah,
period.
just
That's
being able
like,
to
I mean,
move.
just being able to move without running the risk of minimizing your chances of getting hurt. So, I mean, some people will never reach that perfect movement ever again, depending on where you're at, but that you can improve on these things, absolutely. So that's really neat. Yeah, you'll just watch any young child do something, and you'll watch, even though like they're clumsy and they'll fall over at times, the fact that they're able to get into these positions with natural ease and not even thinking about it, because they're not thinking squat. Like we, when we get down to the ground, we either take a knee or we just like literally we're on our knees and we're like doing something. A kid will just naturally, just instead of doing all that, he'll just squat down and do what he has to do and then pop back up,
Yep.
because it's more efficient just for him to squat and get back up and keep doing what he's doing. So yeah, I mean, it's a fundamental. So if you're someone that needs to work on that, definitely encourage that, making that one of your goals for this year.
Yeah, and then speaking of goals, we're gonna talk about what setting goals, reaching goals.
All the goals.
2022 sounds like
Yeah,
a fake year.
basically. So for people watching on YouTube, we're going to be discussing, covering mainly objective goals that people are very familiar with, but also introducing action goals, or what are the differences between the two and why we feel you should have both of them when you're going to make your New Year Eve, New Year's, whatever resolutions. I've been doing this now for 2 years, and I got this from Jordan Syed, actually. So shout out to him, from Syed, at Syed Fitness on Instagram. And he was I saw him post this, or on his story or on YouTube or something, that he did a long time ago, and I thought it was a very cool thing, because New Year resolutions aren't new. They've been around for a long time. People have been trying to do them for, as long as I can remember. And nothing wrong with that. The problem is that we know that the majority of the goals that we set out, for the most part, they kind of like fall off at one point, with depending on what it is, and then it kind of maybe circle back for the next year, and you people reattempt it again. So it's always like a little bit of a vicious cycle. And it's just interesting, because when I heard this concept about action goals, it kind of just like a little light bulb went off in my head. And people can name it different things, but I think it's a pretty like easy thing to understand. So to kind of like just bring this point up to our listeners, go ahead, Mike.
Well, you just sparked my brain. This is a question I never asked. When did we start making New Year's resolutions? And like, where did that concept come from? Apparently, I mean, just a quick Google search, found it on the internet,
Hmm.
so it must be true. Apparently, the tradition started 4,000 years ago with Babylonians praying to the gods in hopes to earn favor in the next year. So it was more of like a promise to be valuable, from what I
Hmm.
understand,
Hmm.
to curry favor with the gods, instead of just trying to lose 20 pounds or whatever, whatever the goal is. So that's
Okay,
interesting.
I
I've
didn't I
never
didn't
looked
know
that up
that.
before.
Okay, well, there you go. That's a fun fact for people that wonder where the New Year resolutions come from. Hey, that's where they've probably originated, because Google said so. Um, so basically, with the action goal, guys, it's so well. Let me break this down. So we'll start with objective goals. People, things that everyone's pretty much familiar with. So, just a couple examples. An objective goal will be like, I want to lose. I want to lose 50 pounds this year. That's an objective goal. That's like, you have a kind of a point that you want to get to. I want to buy a house this year, or um whatever the case, I want to get married. Like, that's like, just like, these are just objective goals that you someone may jot down on their piece of paper. So that's all good, because I mean, they're goals that you want to accomplish, or these are just things that you desire, or you're going to be praying to the gods for, right? So the action goals is, instead of just having these goals with no plan, because you just say them. And if we know, based on working with people just from the fitness side of things, if someone wants to lose 50 pounds, but they have no idea what they're going to do to get those 50 pounds off, the likelihood of them seeing this thing through, because 50 pounds of fat is a lot. It's
Yeah.
not like it's literally a life-changing thing. And it's a lot of work, it's a lot of time. And we know if there's no game plan, there's no structure, there's no smaller goals or milestones that we need to hit during that process, the likelihood of this person seeing this through past April is not likely. So an action goal is, you want to latch those action goals to those objective goals. That way they have a bit more substance, and you also start kind of creating smaller goals that are gonna favor that objective goal. So for the example of the 50 pounds of weight loss, someone says they want to lose 50 pounds. Now, what are some action goals that you can think of that you can do that are going to support that 50-pound weight loss goal? It could be simple as, I'm going to get a gym membership. Cool. I'm going to hire a personal trainer. Boom. That's an action that you're going to do. That's a shameless plug for us as well, right? So, but no, so you sign up for a gym, you hire a trainer, then you say, I'm going to start cooking uh, cooking one time a day, or have one home cooked meal. So anything kind of that you're going to start kind of start adding to this big term goal, this long term goal. And you can even break it into sections. I think it's very a good idea to make that big goal that seems like a mountain that you will never get to the top of, and start kind of breaking it down, maybe quarterly, maybe monthly, or even weekly. I mean, you can break this down into many pieces, and this is where the action goals come into place. And that's why when I'm discussing, talking with a client, and Mike, I don't know how you're doing it right now at your gym, but basically sitting across from someone, they tell me I want to lose 35 pounds or whatever the case may be. And we start kind of going over like what they're currently doing right now and what are some things that we can kind of change. And that's a form of creating action goals to support their main goal. I don't know kind of what your experience is that lately.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of go about that in a roundabout sort of way, not necessarily calling it an action goal, but in my brain, it's just setting up little tasks that you're looking to complete that's going to help you reach this objective goal. So with one of my people right now, we're working on breakfast. The simplest thing that we could find that we needed to work on was just what can we eat consistently for breakfast, just to kind of start the day off right. Um, so that's kind of like her goal right now, is just work on that, find something consistent that's good that you could do all the time, and then feel okay working out with, within an hour or two, depending on the day. And that's like, as simple and silly as that may sound, like that's setting us up. As long as we can nail breakfast, the next conversation is going to be about lunch. And then after that, we're going to start talking about dinner. And then from there, we have our food covered. And then we can start talking about other things. So I like to think of action goals as things that you're kind of building upon. They're not just like, okay, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to go to the other side of the spectrum and then I'm going to start doing that. Like, try to make it cohesive with itself so it's supporting you as you go through the process of reaching that objective goal.
No, absolutely. I think that this also paints a much more clear picture for that person that wants that desired outcome, and it also shows them, I think, what's it going to take, or what are the things that they're actually going to do. Because I think a lot of time people say they want something, and I've been guilty of this. We say we want a particular thing, but we actually don't actually sit down and think of what that looks like, right? For the example of buying a house, for example, that you had to go through a process to get that house. For someone, that can look like maybe assessing their credit, working on their credit score for a bit, getting that in a more favorable position. A very simple one is saving X amount of dollars to be able to put down a down for that house, or just giving yourself a time window of like, I'm going to budget X amount to reach that particular goal. So I mean, these things can start to spider web and create a lot of little things that people need to become aware of, because you can't just say I want something but you have zero game. It's rare in life that the things that are worth having just happen by just mistake
Yeah,
or by
pure
pure luck.
happenstance. Yeah.
Yes, pure happenstance. I like that. Um, so you need to, even if it's a simple goal as like I want to save we're going to use this mic, $10,000, and people just say they want X amount of dollars, but you need to action goal to that is, making a budget, of what your monthly, your weekly expenses are, and breaking it down on how much could you potentially save to get to, or how long it's going to take you to get to that $10,000, whatever the case may be. So I want the listeners that may have not heard of this or even thought of this to really sit down and think of what their goals are for the year. And this can be outside of fitness, this can be personal stuff. And when you write those objective goals, I want you to make a column and like divide it, down on the middle of your paper. And then on the other side, I want you to write the action goals of that said goal, because this is going to help you map it out. This is going to give you some type of time frame, and which I think is important. And also, it's going to make you understand, cool, this is the stuff that I need to do. And I think that it's important to make goals that are small enough that are accomplishable, but also challenging enough where it causes you to have to grow from that particular spot that you're in. You have to make a change, because I know for someone it can be, we can talk about making breakfast for someone that never starts off the day right. They start the day with a couple ibuprofens and a cup of iced coffee, and then they start their day. So maybe
How did
just
you know?
it's like personally attacked.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, I just saw that on a meme, I think. So I
Yeah.
think it was just funny. But um, you want to kick off the day with maybe like, you know what, I'm gonna wake up, 10 minutes earlier. I'm gonna have a simple breakfast, whether that's a protein shake, or I'm gonna have like, 2, 3 eggs in the morning, or whatever the case may be, and just start off the day with some real food or some good nutrient profile, like a good macro breakdown, and just start off the day like that. And then the rest of the day, I'm gonna handle like how I normally would handle. Let me get that first part of the day down, and then let me start, because as a result from doing all these little changes in your day to day, which we know are difficult, a lot of this stuff is not even the not knowing piece, it's the behavior side of things. So we need to, this is why action goals are so critical here, because whether it's fitness, whether it's finances, whether it's your personal relationships, everything stems from your behavioral patterns. So if you can start making these small, subtle adjustments that your body doesn't even know it's really happening, to an extent, like it's not perceiving it to be such a drastic kick, you'll watch how you begin to change as a human being and start to fundamentally start making better decisions as a result of just these little things stacking on top of each other.
Yeah. I think it's oh man, what's the saying? I was literally just thinking it and then it just left my brain. We overestimate how much we can do in a year, but we
Mhm.
underestimate how much we can do in a day. Is that what it is?
I never heard that one
It's
before.
something along
So
those
I, so I've
lines.
heard so I've heard something similar, but it's like um it's crazy what you think you, well, it's something about like being able to, perceive that you can do X amount of things, or a certain amount of things within 5 year time frame. But if you put your head down for 5 months straight and focus, how much you could probably knock that out in such a short amount of time, like in just a fraction of what that
Yeah.
time would be, something like that.
And it's
Um,
basically saying the same thing. And I mean, this is setting you up for doing seemingly little things. I mean, it's not a big monumental victory to get your breakfast on lock and be able to do it consistently, but
mhm.
over the course of a whole entire year, and all the while developing new equally small habits along the way, over the course of that year, you've accomplished so fucking much compared to just something so small as like, I'm just going to get a good breakfast going and try to do that consistently. And I think that that's where action goals really come into play and really start to shine. Because just like you said, if I want to lose 50 pounds, how the fuck do I lose 50 pounds? That's a big fucking deal. That's tough for trainers to do with their clients. I mean, to
Hmm.
do it by yourself, that's going to be even tougher. So break it down into small little things that seemingly are insignificant compared to 50 pounds. But over the course of time, over the course of a year or 2 years or however long, these small little things start to add up. And then you're getting closer towards that objective goal. I mean, it's really just about, you could, I think of the objective goal as like the end destination, and the action goal is the map that you're following to get there. Except you're kind of creating the map yourself, hopefully in a constructive way.
No, absolutely. I think that it's important to kind of like talk with this, with yourself, with your partner, with your family, with your coach, with your trainer, with your mentor, whoever's going to be working with you. Um, it's because you need to have a clear understanding of what you want, because it's so I don't know about you, but there's been a many times where I've wanted to accomplish things and it doesn't happen. And not saying that writing these things down and doing these action goals is going to guarantee you success. It all is going to boil down to you personally on accomplishing these things. Now, it kind of brings me to a point that I want to make regarding this type of this topics. I know I did this a couple years ago. Remember we went to Chico's, Mike, and we did the presentation there.
Yeah.
I talked about this. It's okay to have those goals, whatever they may be, but don't marry those goals. Don't emotionally attach yourself so hard to them. Um, and for example, not saying that you shouldn't try or you shouldn't put a lot of effort, but for example, the 50-pound weight loss goals, we're going to use that as an example again. Let's say in 12 months from here, from the beginning of January of 2022 to January 1st of 2023, if we're still around, right? Um, so you only knocked out 37 or 36 pounds of that said 50-pound weight loss goal. That is still 36 to 37 pounds of fat that you do not have anymore. And we're considering the fact that you did everything right, because maybe you said you wanted 50-pound goals, but we didn't we then realized, okay, I first have to fix my health first. So maybe consume some time at the beginning, and you had to work on your metabolism. You had to introduce better habits, simple as making some breakfast in the morning, maybe making a good food, get good dinner for yourself. And you're working on all these things. You worked hard the whole year in the sense that you were actually putting in you 1 foot forward every time and trying to be 1% better throughout the journey. But 12 months went by, you lost 36, 37 pounds. That is not a failure. That's not, you did not fail within that goal that you set out for yourself, because that is still, to get to 30 plus pounds of actual fat loss, you still have to go through a whole process, which fundamentally is going to change you internally, as well as not just from the external, but from the internal part. So I want people to make these goals, and it's okay to make big goals. And some of these goals, I wanted to say, the 50-pound goal may turn into a 2 year plan or a 2 year goal for yourself, because 50 pounds is 50 pounds, guys. I'm not going to front and say that it's something easy, but it's definitely attainable in a year. But it could take 2 years for some people. It can take 3 years for some people. And that is okay. The most important thing is that you reevaluate at different parts of the year or every year and assess what are the wins that you've accomplished, and then put them back on your goals. Don't kick them off to the side and say like, well, I failed at this, I'm not even going to bother, or I'm just going to quit altogether, because that's an emotional reaction or an emotional attachment to those things. We want to look at things objectively, like these are objective goals, and that's why I wanted to label it this. And then you want to make sure, cool, let's reassess. I'm already 36, 37 pounds down. Phenomenal. Awesome. I learned so much throughout the way. My trainer's been a great support. My people around me have been so awesome. And I feel so much better. I'm out of certain health risks and whatever the case may be. I move better. I look better. I feel more confident. Cool. I want to lose. I do still want to hit those 50 pounds because I know I still am a little bit higher in body fat than I'd like to be, but I'm in a much better place. Then you reassess, you reestablish the steps that you're going to take, and boom, you finally get there on year 2, for example.
Yep.
Awesome. So it's you. I think that it's also setting that expectation. This goes for anything you're doing. I mean, you have to. I think it's important to have a point of focus, because always living in limbo is not bad, but you depending on who you are. We live in what and I'm in the United States. For most of the listeners that would listen to us, they live in the United States. It's a hustle culture. I mean, you have to be able to perform at a certain amount to be okay in this country. It's expensive. Everything's getting expensive. So you have to be focused on different things. And I think your health, taking care of your health is super critical nowadays with everything going on. And then you got to attack your personal life, your personal finances. What do you want to accomplish? And obviously relationships with people also require actual tangible things. For example, we use the marriage as an example. This might not be anyone's like particular goal. It might just be like, I want to have a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever. It's like as silly. I've seen people write this down, and I don't mock them or anything. Well, there you go. And but what happened? You have to put action goals like, okay, cool. I'm gonna work on myself and get myself in good shape, or I'm going to start kind of working on stuff that maybe I know I have to work internally, that, or I'm going to put myself in social settings that is going to allow me to potentially meet this person, or modern day time, download an app and potentially getting connected with that person. So there are even as simple as something like that. You have to put yourself in a position to succeed on that desired goal, because like I said, too many times, too much wishful thinking. I feel that people just say things and there's zero point there. And what happens, you start creating kind of disbelief in yourself and what you say and your word, because you say you're going to do something and it doesn't happen. And then
Yep.
you're going to start to internalize that as, I'm a failure. I don't get things done as, I don't accomplish what I say I'm going to do. And a big part of confidence is actually adhering to your word. And that's why I try to be very careful on what I say to myself, on what I want to do. And I also assess deeply, like, is it that really what I want? And how would I do that? Like, how there has to be a way to do this. I've seen it done before. How would I do that? And like, is it something, and you start breaking it down, you start noticing things that you thought were important are no longer that important. So it's a lot. It's a series of things that you'll actually be able to kind of discover throughout this journey.
Yeah, and anybody that thinks they're, you know, failing or whatever. I mean, going back to that 50-pound weight loss goal, if you only lost 36, only lost air quotes 36 pounds over the course of the year, and you feel like you're failing, I mean, look at it through a different lens with a different goal and think, okay, 36 pounds out of 50, that's like 72%, not to be too specific. I think it's 72%. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. If your goal was to make $1 million next year and you only made 72% of that goal happen, you have $720,000 that you didn't have before. Is that something you're going to complain about? Fuck no.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing is going to apply. It's just, again, not marrying that goal. And this comes from maybe a little bit more of a personal space with losing weight as opposed to just making money. But you got to, almost going back to exactly what you're saying, be a little bit kinder to yourself with the self-talk and being a little bit more understanding of where you're at and the obstacles you've overcome, and realizing it really is about the journey and not the destination. Because even talking about wanting to get a girlfriend or have confidence to approach a girl or whatever it is, that I put down as my goal with you when I first signed up with you, that was something that it wasn't really something I said seriously, but it kind of was. And along the way, I realized that it wasn't about the girlfriend at all. It was more about how I was feeling about myself. And along the way, I got to a point where I was happy with who I was, where I was, what I was doing, how I was going about doing it. And I realized, the girlfriend's not really going to improve or worsen or anything. Like, if anything, she could supplement my life in certain types of ways, and Jen does. But it became more about me becoming the person that I wanted to, rather than finding the person that I wanted to. And then I wound up finding the person that I wanted to anyways. Um, Go ahead.
I wanted to say something there because you're saying it without saying it, but what happens when you are working to focusing on the process and putting these steps to acting on these steps, you become the person as a result from doing these things, because you to be able to make $1 million or close to that, there are certain characteristics or certain attributes that you're going to develop to be able to make that much. It's a very small percentage of people that can actually do it. So there's attributes that you
Yeah,
start developing. To
I know
lose
what you're
50
saying.
pounds, you have to develop certain habits and characteristics to be able to live a healthy lifestyle. Pay attention to someone that is like a normal person that feels most of the time, versus someone that feels good and looks good on a legit scale, not like someone that's just like a bodybuilder, but like a person that like embodies like what health is. They have good relationships as a result of it. They are confident in themselves. These versus someone that may be kind of like, not exercising at all, not eating well. Their confidence is maybe a little bit low. They may be feeling like low energy all the time. So there's certain characteristics that people embody based on the things that your habits that you do, and you have to develop those things, um, as a result to get to that said destination. So, I mean, I think it's important to highlight that, if you do that, you're gonna fundamentally change.
That's an iteration of Ben Pekulski's first episode on his podcast, Muscle Intelligence.
I love
That's the
that.
name of this
That
podcast. It's the don't set the goal for the sake of reaching the goal. Set the goal for being the person who reached the goal. I believe is
mhm.
some variation
Yeah,
of those types of words. Like, don't try to make $1 million for the sake of making $1 million. Try to make $1 million to become the person that made $1 million.
yep,
And that kind of like changes the focus to exactly what you're talking about. You're talking more
yeah,
about building the right habits, becoming the right person. And then it's not just, oh, I made $1 million once. It's like, no, I know how to make $1 million now, and I can consistently fucking do it, whether it's
yep.
$1 million or losing 50 pounds or whatever it is.
Absolutely. I think that you work so hard towards that thing that you realize that once you're close or you get there, it's awesome. You feel good if you accomplish that thing. But you if you really analyze it, people always talk about it's not about what I did, it's like what it took to get there and the stuff that I had to learn to overcome certain challenges or obstacles. We as human beings thrive on challenges and stuff. So it's a very, if you can shift your thinking going into 2022 with these principles, maybe this is something new, maybe this is something you've heard in the past but you really never acted on. um, I hope this actually is something that you're able to take a lot of value, because it's something that I heard a couple years back and it definitely changed the game for me. So that's why people think, another thing that thought to mind is that people will be like, well, uh, you only you only like said person. This is from the dating perspective. Like, you only like said person because they have money. And it's not necessarily the case, because money is such a small part. Typically, someone that has X amount of achievements from a financial standpoint embodies certain characteristics that are possibly maybe attractive to that said person. So it's not always about that thing. Same thing about being fit. It's not about the person's body necessarily always from the physical, because the physical comes and goes, but it's the characteristics that person might embody from being in a much better physical state. So that, if you look at it from there, it's always going to be what is the byproduct of all those things. So I know Gabe loves when I throw that word out there, but yeah, I think we kind of covered this pretty extensively. I think that people can actually, I don't know, people let us know what you guys think about this stuff. Anything
Yeah.
else that you want to add, Mike?
No, I think we covered it. Um, I do have a couple questions for you though.
Yes.
Um, what does a what does a robot do after sex?
No idea.
He nuts and bolts.
Whoa.
Yeah, there you go.
Jesus.
Um,
We're ending the year strong. I see. We're
and
going in
then,
guns
w-
blazing
do you know why they don't let blind people go skydiving?
because they can't ski.
No, it's because it scares the shit out of the dogs. That was Gabe's. That's my favorite one.
I was trying to think. I'm like my brain. When you guys start doing it, my brain starts going like a million miles an hour, just trying to figure it out. It's like, oh, just say whatever. Just throw it out there. Maybe I get lucky. But listeners, I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Go ahead and don't forget to subscribe, as well as focusing on making objective goals and action goals this year. Do not just write a bunch of stuff without any meaning, without any structure. If you're serious about getting in the best shape of your life, building the best relationships, building the best you, building the best finances, whatever your goals are this year. I know it can be a variety of things. You have to have a game plan. It is crucial for your success. I know I will be making a couple of those myself this year and revisiting the ones I made in the past 2 years and kind of going from there because this information as it can be new for you. It's always going to be a refresher for myself. Share this episode with someone that could benefit from this. We always appreciate any type of support. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to subscribe if you haven't and give this video a thumbs up. It just helps kind of keep the consistency of the channel growing. Even though a lot of our attention is on the audio platforms for you guys, we have over 200 plus episodes on there with great interviews and a lot more to come in this new year. And I hope everyone stays safe out there. Don't get too crazy. If you do, invite me. Why not? Be safe, everyone. Until the next one.